All right, stand by. All right, welcome to the live stream preview between the Ole Miss Rebels and the Auburn Tigers. I'm here with Zac Blackerby. It's kind of delayed for a second real quick. I'm having problems with my audio. I need to shut that off. There we go. That is shut off. That is the problem of doing live television. Sometimes you forget to click a button. But anyway, Zac Blackerby is in the house. We're here to talk Ole Miss and Alabama for the next 15 or 20 minutes, and we're live streaming it out, whether you're catching it live or you're catching it on demand. I hope you enjoy yourself. The chat is open. I can see that. You might not be able to see what's going on, but I can see that, so you can interact with the show. So if you have a question for Zac, you can send it my way, and I'll be sure to ask it. But Zac, welcome to the show. Welcome to the upgraded podcast. We've kind of done some upgrades since the last time you were here. Cool. And how's it going? How are you doing?
It's good, man. It's good. Yeah. Solid. There's a solid feeling in the air. Nothing like SEC football, a top 10 team coming into town here at, in East Alabama. And so, yeah, the tailgate tents are up. The RVs are in town, and yeah, folks are ready to see a really talented Ole Miss team at Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to what will happen and I told you yesterday. It wouldn't surprise me if Auburn won by 3 touchdowns. It wouldn't surprise me if Ole Miss won by 3 touchdowns, or if it was a 3-point game. Either way, I'm genuinely excited about what could happen, because if Ole Miss comes out of this game in Jordan-Hare, they're staring at 7-1 with a 3-game homestand and the Egg Bowl left to go. If Auburn comes out of that, they have a tough game against Texas A&M, but if they can get through that one, they again have the Iron Bowl has an increased magnitude. It's kind of a inflection point of the SEC schedule coming together in Jordan-Hare Saturday.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think this is a big one, and this is kind of a similar feeling as far as importance as to what Auburn went through 2 weeks ago against Arkansas. It was kind of a make or break. Okay, however this game goes may define the rest of the season. And I think them winning in Fayetteville, now you got a bye week, and now obviously they host a top 10 team with Ole Miss coming into town. It's important. It's an important game. And obviously, like you said, it's important for Ole Miss as well, because Ole Miss is in this unique situation. I talked about this throughout the week on Locked on Auburn, but they're in a unique situation where they can win out, and it's almost better for Ole Miss if they don't win the SEC West, because let's say Georgia beats Alabama in Atlanta, then all of a sudden Ole Miss is in a situation where, do they take two SEC teams, because I think Alabama will be knocked out after that Georgia loss. So, this is a huge game for Ole Miss, and it's a huge game for Auburn. And, Brian Harsin, and there's been, so many kind of opinions all over the place exactly what this team looks like under him. And this would be a statement win. This would be Brian Harsin's signature win if he was able to find a way to get this done on Saturday night in Jordan-Hare.
Yeah, and people talk about distractions and things going on. I just saw this happen in the news, and I was wondering about it. What do you think about the fact that he invited the national media criticism to be focused on Auburn over this whole vaccination thing? It kind of feels like that's a self-inflicted wound a little bit, right?
Well, it's not on his team. The media has been all over his quarterback for the last 3 years. And so, obviously ever since Harsin took the job this offseason. But I don't know, man. I don't know. And, that kind of gets into this weird territory where, is it our business? I don't know. I don't know the answer to it. But I don't think the team's that worried about it. I think this team is really, really focused. I don't think, just talking with people in the program this week, that's not something that's coming up in the locker room. I think this is a media thing, and there's really 2 or 3 outlets that are really stirring the pot here and there. They're putting up, cartoons, political cartoons of him, and kind of a lot of slander, if we're being honest. So I think that's a media talking point. I don't think it's something that's real life and that's happening within the locker room.
Yeah, it just seems weird because it just guarantees a firestorm because there's certain groups of media that wants that to happen, and
Sure.
And anything to stir up, and it just becomes the focal point. I was just curious about that, what they said.
No, and I mean, sorry to cut you off, but like Brian Harsin, you can say what you want about the guy, but he is not a storylines dude. He doesn't care about that kind of stuff. And I think you're seeing his culture, this culture that he wants to bring to the Plains. I think you're starting to slowly see it take over a little bit in the form of, okay, this may be crazy, but a football coach is focused on the football game. And I think his football team is focused on the football game. Sports media, for whatever reason, has been kind of fun to not focus on sports and football and this top 10 team coming into town. But the football program is focused on football. And so I think a lot of the fans are as well. I don't think the distraction's a legitimate thing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not necessarily saying a distraction, but it's just a weird thing becoming the focal point. It's kind of the opposite of what Lane Kiffin went through in July when he announced, "Hey, we're all vaccinated," whether they were or weren't, but he just became the opposite end of that firestorm. Of course, with Lane Kiffin, we're always storylines. It's always something going on with just around him, and it's not his own doing. That's what I've learned through Lane Kiffin. It's other people putting stuff into his mouth and trying to assume what he thinks. That becomes the storyline. Like people actually said that is Lane Kiffin going to go back to USC? It's like they fired him on a tarmac. Would you go back there? Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. But literally for 4 or 5 days, that became a legit storyline, which A, tells you the media don't know what the hell they're talking about half the time. Yep. And B, is just like, hey, let's just find clickbaits and whatever will get people's attention.
Well, the industry shifted a little bit, right? It's not about news. It's about clicks and audience size and engagement. I mean, you can put a tweet out with a link to the article and, 1 million people can quote tweet and say, hey, this is stupid. But it doesn't matter because it just gets more in front of more people. And so they're able to go to advertisers and say, hey, well, we got more page views, and, it kind of snowballs from there. So the industry's changed, as far as, what is attractive, as far as, sports media and all of that. It's definitely changed. But, it has surprised me a little bit, Stephen, how much talk there's been with Lane Kiffin potentially leaving Ole Miss after the season. I mean, he's been tied to every job that opens up. First, it was USC. Now, I guess the latest is LSU. I don't really think that he's going to be leaving Ole Miss right now, but I could be wrong. Is there any feeling there, or am I just kind of clueless to this?
Well, the one thing you need to know about Lane Kiffin, for whatever reason, maybe it's his social media engagement, maybe it's just being a media darling, a story gets more views. And it's actually proven that if you tag Lane Kiffin in the story. So if he becomes a part of the story, it's going to get more traction, like you said, than before. So he's not necessarily going to go anywhere. I told people last week, it's like, get ready for a whole bunch of people to talk about a top 10 team and tell us what we can't do.
No, you're right.
And
you're right.
Yeah, and they're going to try and justify anything to get him in the story. But at this point, it's just all bunk because I think Keith Carter at Ole Miss is going to give him whatever he wants, including a hefty raise at the end of the season if it goes the way I think it's going to go. And at that point, there's like 3 programs in the whole country that could even afford to take him away. So, I mean, kind of let it rip.
Yeah. Yeah, and I want to see what he does at Ole Miss without Matt Corral. Certainly seems like Matt Corral will be in the NFL after this season. Can he keep it going? We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But I think the SEC is a better place when Lane Kiffin in it for sure.
Oh, absolutely. His trolling, his Twitter account, everything, it's just pretty magical. They talked about all the ancillary benefits that Ole Miss is getting right now from him being the football coach. Trust me, that's going to be on the desk as well to the chancellor and the athletic director when it comes to raise time.
Sure.
Anyway, let's get into the game a little bit. Auburn comes in, they run a little bit of a pro-style spread. They look a little bit like LSU at times, not necessarily good or bad, but just the way the offense is constructed. Defense, pretty good. It's a Derek Mason-style defense from back in his Stanford days, three-man front, and they're doing a good job. Tell me a couple of players that I need to look forward to without the main characters being listed. Who are they?
Sure. So on offense, it's obviously you got your Bo Nix, Tank Bigsby, Jarquez Hunter, other guys. John Samuel Shanker, the leading tight end, he's really kind of taken on a pretty big role in this offense. A few weeks ago, he was the leading receiver in the offense, and I don't think he is anymore. But he's become a very relevant figure in this passing attack. And, Auburn uses a lot of tight ends, a lot of 11 personnel, a lot of two tight ends in the formation. So you'll see a lot of him. And then, the receiver position has kind of been, a little bit of a revolving door at the receiver position, just because, you see kind of different guys step up at times. And it's just been a pretty inconsistent position for the most part. The most consistent guy has been Kobe Hudson. Really kind of shows a lot of ability as a natural wide receiver. He played quarterback in high school, but you're starting to see him really get comfortable as kind of this natural wide receiver role in this offense. And then, the guy from Georgia, Demetrius Robertson, you and I talked about him on Locked On Auburn on Thursday. But that's a guy that's starting to look more and more comfortable in this offense, can kind of do some intermediate stuff, as well as, he had a few deep plays against Arkansas, which really kind of helped open up this offense. But those are kind of some of the unsung heroes of this offense. On the defensive side of the ball, Colby Wooden, when you look at stats and analytics, no one is rushing the passer and stopping the run at a higher clip and at a more effective rate than Colby Wooden. So that's a guy to definitely look at. He's pretty versatile, 6'5", 270 plus. They've scooted him inside. He was more of a defensive end a year ago as a redshirt freshman, but now as a redshirt sophomore in this Derek Mason scheme. They've scooted him inside, and he is absolutely handling guards left and right. So he's a guy to look at. Owen Papo, the star linebacker, he was one of the two guys that represented Auburn at media days. He's expected to make his return. He got hurt at Penn State earlier this year, and the defense has missed him. Jacoby McClain, the other linebackers, really stepped up, but Owen Papo expected to make his return after that bye week, which was crucial. And then, Roger McCreary, he's not getting as much love as I think he deserves. I've gone on several shows talking about Roger McCreary, Auburn's outside corner. I think he may be the most underrated player in all of college football. I think he is a phenomenal cornerback. And so he's definitely a guy to look at, especially if Auburn is to win this game. They're going to need their DBs to play really well. And I think that starts and ends with Roger McCreary.
Okay, Ole Miss comes in running for 263 yards a game, third in the nation. Mm-hmm. Who are a couple of players we need to look at? How's Auburn going to bottle that up? Who has to have a good game?
Yeah. I think I mentioned, two of the linebackers there. What do they do now that they have all three of their linebackers back? Chandler Wooten's that third guy. He's played a ton of snaps with Owen Papo missing a few weeks. So I'm curious to see if they go with some three linebacker sets. You haven't seen that a ton, but with them trying to stop Ole Miss's running attack, that may be something you see. Also, Owen Papo is kind of versatile enough. You almost could slide him out and almost kind of treat him as a nickel if you needed him to. So that's something, they went out and got some defensive tackles in the transfer portal. Marcus Harris is a guy. He came from Kansas. He's been really, really effective. Could you see him step up in that role? They went out and got a defensive end named Eku Leota. He was primarily just a pass rusher out of Northwestern last year, and so he's become Auburn's best pass rusher on this team. But he's also kind of become a better run stopper on the edge than a lot of people anticipated. And then Derek Hall, he's going to play on the edge on the other side of Eku Leota. He's he's a little inconsistent. I think Auburn fans wanted to see a little bit more pop from him throughout the season. And, there'll be 3 or 4 plays a game. You're like, okay, there's Derek Hall. But I think that's going to be pretty much your front 7 or 8 guys that are going to kind of be tasked with doing this. And also, Auburn's got a linebacker. His name is Smoke Monday. He's got one of the best names in college football, but he's not good away from the line of scrimmage. So I'm curious to see, and a lot of Auburn fans have commented on my YouTube page talking about this. Maybe Smoke Monday is that guy that is used as a spy against Matt Corral in 3rd and long because he's been so effective running the ball on 3rd and long and such. So, maybe you move him close to the line of scrimmage. That could be something that would be interesting because he's much better. He's a surefire tackler, but he's just not very good in coverage. So those are kind of the guys that I think if those guys have a good game, Auburn can win this thing.
Yeah, and it's all going to be paramount to stopping the Ole Miss run because if Ole Miss starts running and passing, that offense becomes unstoppable. Let's move over to the other side of the ball. Tank Bigsby, Jarquez Hunter. I mean, it's a heck of a tandem, a running back. Even Sean Shivers has got into it a little bit. Talk a little bit about them and what we can expect from them.
Sure. So Tank Bigsby and Jarquez Hunter, they really hit the ground running in the start of the season. And they did it against teams that they should be able to run against. Akron, Alabama State. Then they went to Penn State, and they had a really good game there. Just not a whole lot of running play calls, or not as much as Auburn fans really wanted. And they come back to Georgia State. They have a hard time running the ball in the first half. Jarquez Hunter has a really long run, a record-setting run in the second half of that game. But then SEC play happens. And, all week going into that LSU SEC opener for the Auburn Tigers, it was, okay, Auburn's going to be able to run all over this defense because everyone has been able to run all over this defense. And they didn't do it. And then a few weeks later, then you had Georgia. Nobody runs on them. And then you've got then you had Arkansas. And it's like, man, everybody runs all over Arkansas. And the Tigers weren't able to do it. So you're starting to see a similar storyline this week where it's like, okay, people are able to run on Ole Miss, so Auburn should be able to run all over them. And it's like, I'm honestly at this point where I will believe it when I see it. I don't think it's all Tank Bigsby or Jarquez Hunter. I think some of it is still this offensive line kind of coming together. I think this offensive line may be one of the weaker points of this team. A lot of experience. It's just, how good can you be as far as talent goes there? And so it's an interesting situation. A big storyline going into this game is Auburn worked on running the football over the course of their bye week. But halfway through the season, how much can you really do? How much can you really work on that? But that was something that Harsin was asked a lot about this week.
You can change your schemes. LSU went to a gap scheme and ran for 10 miles against Florida. So it can work.
Yeah.
It might be a one-off thing and just a flash in the pan, but it can work. Now, what is this I'm hearing about orange face masks or orange jerseys? What's going on for this game?
Yeah, I don't know. Auburn fans they're a very traditional fan base. And, a lot of the older Auburn fans don't want anything to change ever. I mean, I remember after like the 2010 or 2011 season, the font size on the jerseys changed and people freaked out. It was crazy. And it was like, I didn't even notice it. But then, they haven't really done anything since then. And they rolled out white face masks for the whiteout at Penn State, and people loved it. So maybe we'll see some orange stuff. People have been asking for Auburn jerseys for a long time. I'll be shocked to see it. I'm excited to see it if it's a thing. But yeah, I think that'll be a cool. Harsin's coming in trying to change things up, and I respect him for it.
Yeah. The same thing happened at Ole Miss for years and years. The gray pants were just a sticking point that they had to be gray pants no matter what's going on. But over the last couple of years, the all-white look has slowly latched on. And, man, we have the powder blue helmets and the all-white uniforms. That stuff was good.
I think Ole Miss is in contention for having the best uniforms in college football. I love Ole Miss and I love UCLA, especially those what is it? Those the sissy blue shirts.
Yeah, the sissy blue shirts. Yeah, it is pretty great. What we're waiting on to see is if there are going to be some white pants with like the sissy blue stripes that you break out for that. I'm interested to see which direction they're going to go. They also need to bring back out the white lids from time to time with that blue uniform.
Cool with that. I'm cool with that. No, Yeah, Ole Miss has some of the cleanest jerseys out there. There's no question.
Yeah, it's pretty good, man. Zach, thank you for coming by today. I hope you guys have good luck. Not necessarily on the scoreboard, but hope everything works out, and we have a good time Saturday.
Absolutely. Hey, and for all the Ole Miss folks watching, if you're making your way over to Jordan Hare and to East Alabama this weekend, hope you have a great time. And yeah, hopefully Auburn folks are pretty hospitable folks. So yeah, be sure to visit Toomer's Corner, win or lose after the game. It's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, great to have you. Also, promote your stuff. Tell everybody where they can see you.
Yeah. If you want some of the Auburn flavor, the Auburn side of this matchup, Steven came on Locked on Auburn Thursday. There's a new podcast up every day, all Auburn stuff. So be sure to check that out. We play you guys in basketball as well. So in a few weeks, once SEC plays picking up, if you want some of the Auburn side of that matchup, please check that out. And then we'll be writing about this game at auburnwire.com, part of the USA Today sports group. So yeah, please check all that out. And I'm on Twitter at Z Blackerby.
All right, there it is. Zac Blackerby, lockedonauburn.com. Thanks, man.
Thank you, brother.